Oh god, I'm gonna go do it in this format. If you ever miss Grand Thumb's old videos in his old format, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Ladies, gentlemen, and often forgotten, but not by me, KP15 owners who would pitch shift up their voices in videos. I present to you the M4gery. Now, what is the M4gery? The M4gery comes from the two words M4 carbine and forgery. M4 carbine, forgery. M4, forgery. M4gery! Often the M4gery is criticized by its detractors for being dated, unnecessarily heavy, and recoiling too much. Well, I consider it to be reliable, robust, and economical to use. So, what is an M4gery? An M4gery is not a particular make or model of firearm, but one that shares common characteristics. A civilian-acquired AR-15 that features a 16-inch barrel or a barrel that is pinned and welded to an overall length of 16 inches. Carbine length gas system with drop-in handguards, a flat top upper receiver, and a telescopic stock. This particular rifle is to mimic both the appearance and or function of the United States military's M4 carbine. Now, going from tip to butt, we have ourselves our A2 muzzle device, aka our A2 flash hider, A2 linear compensator, whatever you call it. Excellent and inexpensive. Doesn't kick up dust, not obnoxious, and great since the introduction of the M16A2 back in 1986 and still great today. But many end users often switch these out for muzzle brakes. I don't know why. Usually for them in particular, it doesn't improve the overall handling of the firearm, and quite often it's just shooter incompetence. Here for the barrel, we have ourselves a 16-inch barrel that is chambered in 5.56 NATO and has a 1 9 twist. Oftentimes for these older carbines, a 1 9 twist is not uncommon. In the past, in the 2000s and early 2010s, it was not uncommon to have 1 9-inch twist barrels, which can stabilize 55 grain and 62 grain cartridges just fine. However, this is not ideal for heavier and longer bullets, such as the popular now Mark 262 77 grain open tip match bullets. Another thing about barrel twist rates is it's not uncommon to have 1 9-inch twist, 1 8-inch, and 1 7-inch twist. Today, 1 7 and 1 8 is the most popular. Now for barrel twist rates on M4geries, in the past, around the 2000s, it was not uncommon to have 1 9-inch twist barrels. Such examples of AR-15 manufacturers that would utilize this would be Bushmaster, Wyndham, Olympic Arms, Smith & Wesson, and some others. For example, this manufacturer of the barrel is by Smith & Wesson. This particular barrel has a 5.56 NATO chambering. What that means is that it can accept both 5.56 NATO cartridges as well as 223 Remington cartridges. It is not uncommon for barrels to be 223 Wild or 223 Remington in its barrel extension. Now what does that mean? Generally, 223 Remington barrels can fire safely 223 Remington ammunition. However, it is ill-advised to have 5.56 NATO cartridges. Overpressure and some sort of dimensional problems within the chambering can cause issues such as primers popping or extremely high pressures, and it should be. 223 Wild can safely fire 223 Remington and 5.56 NATO chamberings. All 5.56 NATO chamberings, 223 Remington, and 5.56 NATO cartridges. This barrel is nitrided finish. What does that mean? It is a metal finishing process that darkens and creates a much tougher and harder surface level for both the exterior of the barrel as well as the bore. What does this mean? Well, that means we have an enhanced service life of the barrel as well as corrosion resistance. And this particular finish is inexpensive and very popular nowadays. But nitrided barrels aren't the only thing present on M4geries. For example, phosphated coated barrels and barrels with an internal chrome lining, or the chrome lining omitted altogether, or even some barrels that are cold hammer forged. Now, with so many different eras of manufacturing, plus different levels of quality control in different brands, the accuracy of these things often varies. And for this particular rifle, I'm getting a 4.4 MOA out of it. However, at the same time, I put about 6,000 rounds through, mostly of Russian and Bulgarian bimetal jacketed ammunition, which does accelerate barrel wear. Typically, with these M4geries, you'll get about 3.5 MOA accuracy out of the box, but your results may vary depending on the manufacturer. Here we have a Sport 2 upper. Not sure if it's a lousy grouping or my lousy aiming, but I'm having a 4.3 MOA grouping at 100 yards, or 4.3 MOA. Going down further down, we have ourselves our standard F-marked front sight block, which is a combination of our front sight and our gas block. Now you see at the bottom we have our bayonet lug. This is pretty useless. I'll show you why. Okay, so we have ourselves our M7 bayonet. Fits fine on an M16A1 or M16A2 or an M4 carbine, but if we try to fix it, it does go over, but it's not secure. This is pretty useless. Attached to our front sight block, we have ourselves our sling swivel. This is a very typical placement with many out-of-the-box rifles. Nothing too special. Dangles up and down. Neutral position for both left and right-handed shooters. Here we have our own slip delta ring, which is introduced with the M16A2 and in use with the M16A4, M4 carbine, M4A1 carbine. The handguards drop in, usually in two pieces, an upper and lower half. Some of them are made out of plastic, don't offer any provision. Some of them have integrated flashlights. Some of them have modular sections of either 1913 Picatinny rails or other systems such as M-Lock or Keymod. This exact handguard is a genuine military surplus handguard manufactured by Knights Armament, or CAC. This is a two-piece handguard. We have our own upper and lower half, which enables this rifle to attach lights, laser modules, and other attachments. And the bottom half can be removed to be added in a M203 grenade launcher. However, with that, the sling swivel needs to be removed and added to the side, to the left or the right. This can be seen with the United States Army's marksmanship unit, in which, with this identical handguard system, there's deviation and point of aim shifts. Now, with 7 inches of rail space, it can be limited. You can add a flashlight over here, you can add a PEC box on top, or your IR laser aiming device, and that can get really crowded. Quite often in the 2000s, with the accessories being all over the rail, a foregrip is often attached to there, just to provide something to provide a grip. However, that is not really seen as optimal, and it could cause problems like horizontal recoil management, and often it leads to development of such as the angled foregrip or the C-clamp. On this particular rifle, the handguards are an aftermarket attachment. As previously, it was a two-piece plastic handguard that, without any sort of aluminum shielding, melted off and broke on my hand after a rapid string of firing. Here we have our flat top upper receiver. This is a huge leap forward in terms of firearms technology for the AR-15. It provides a standardized way to mount accessories with a standardized height, standardized everything. What this means is you can calculate your bore offset pretty easily, mount all sorts of numerous optics on it, such as magnified scopes, low-powered variable optics, reflex red dot sights, among others. However, without any sort of that, or previously, you can also mount a carry handle on top. On more modern configurations, you have yourselves a backup iron sight, as well as an optic in front of that. This particular backup iron sight is made by Maytech, which is accurate to what the United States military has done, and especially the U.S. Army, after the disuse and discontinuation of the carry handle. The flat top is a great solution, where in the past, there would be just weird setups such as weaver rails screwed onto chopped up A2 upper receivers. In the inside of the upper receiver, we have ourselves provisions for an M4 style or carbine barrel extension, which provides enhancements for reliability. And for this whole upper receiver group, we have ourselves a identical sighting system to that of the U.S. military's M4 carbine. And for my own personal use, I would use it for training familiarization for the M4 carbine in case I ever have access to this firearm or I'm on leave. Certainly a lot more trigger time than waiting for qualification to happen. A holdover from the past would be the semi-automatic bolt carrier group, which you see over here. We have ourselves a much deeper cut along the rear end. This is less common nowadays, but back then it was a more common thing, as seen with Bushmaster rifles, Smith & Wesson rifles, as well as Colt law enforcement carbines, where oftentimes this rear section will be cut off. This will prevent use of the bolt carrier to be used with an automatic lower receiver or automatic trigger pack. However, having a full auto carrier bolt does not mean the rifle itself is fully automatic. And in fact, having a full auto style bolt carrier might improve gassing and reliability of the whole entire system. Really standard lower receiver, for the most part friendly for right-handed shooters. At least you do have a brass deflector on the upper receiver for left-handed shooting. Otherwise completely standard with a basic A2 grip. Many people dislike the A2 grip, a holdover from the M16A2, which is used today with the M4A1 carbine, the M4 carbine, the M16A4. Not very well liked. Some people get rid of it. Some people tolerate it. I tolerate it. It's whatever. Basic charging handle. Does the job fine. Whatever. Here we have our own standard end plate. Nothing special about it. However, on some M4geries, people swap it out with an extended one that allows slings to be mounted into the back with a HK claw loop. I had that on an actual M4 carbine once. I absolutely hated it. It interfered with the charging handle and controls. Standard 6-position buffer tube with a telescopic stock. On this particular rifle, we have ourselves a P&S GI contract collapsing stock. However, many M4geries would have a civilian-style stock with a different contour in the back. It is not uncommon for other manufacturers and aftermarket stocks to be added to this. Now, one popular modification by the end user is to have an enhanced quick detach end plate, which enables quick detach sockets for 1-point slings, or alternative sling placement for 2-point slings. These are usually made by either Magpul or BCM, and do not interfere with any sort of controls or operations of the firearm. However, one thing I would do for this particular configuration is that the rifle would run well with an H2 buffer inside, which means there are 2 tungsten weights and 1 steel weight inside of a standard buffer housing. Buffer system is pretty standard. It has a weightless or H0 buffer system for the most part out of the box. However, with the 16-inch barrel and the carbine electric gas system, this can lead to overgassing issues using standard pressure ammo, such as from 5.56 or even 223 Remington brass-cased ammunition. This accelerates parts wear, and the reason why the manufacturers would do this is 2 things. Tungsten weights are very, very expensive compared to steel weights, and also many people back then would use Russian-manufactured, bimetal jacketed, steel-cased ammunition, which has much lower pressures and has less reliability than brass-cased ammunition. Now, for the history of the M4gery, through my own research, the term M4gery specifically has been used ever since the end of the assault weapons ban in 2004 in the United States, where it can be found on internet online forums such as M4carbine.net and ARFCOM. Most of these rifles were out-of-the-box carbines with optics and other things slapped onto it, replacement handguards, replacement rear sighting systems, replacement optics on it, to mimic more of that function or aesthetic of the United States military's M4 carbine. One example of this being used, where everything is thrown together, we have a modular handguard, a red dot sighting system or prism optic, a backup iron sight, was made popular with the Magpul Dynamics Art of the Tactical Carbine and similar DVDs by them. Also, to boost popularity, were the proliferation of video games and media. For example, Counter-Strike, Call of Duty 4, among others. However, during the mid-2010s, technology has improved for these AR-15s, and also alleviates these shortcomings. For example, we have ourselves a period correct rifle over here. Let me go pull it out. Now, a lot of M4geries have been phased out in favor of more modern systems. For example, this rifle over here, we have a mid-length gas system, which pairs well with the 16-inch barrel that most civilians would have. And also, we have ourselves a free-floated rail. This particular one is an M-lock. Now, what does this mean? Well, the free-floated rail is independent of that of the barrel, which means that any sort of pressure being put onto the free-floated rail will not impact the barrel harmonics, therefore improving consistency, therefore accuracy. Now, for the firearms enthusiast, the M4gery has also fell out of favor. For example, a lot of these more military like rifles that have the military feel or aesthetic to it. With the abundance of information on forums and on YouTube and other social media platforms, these drop-in accessories to out-of-the-box rifles have kind of fell out of favor, and for more clone-correct ones. For example, in this rifle over here, someone who had a more accurate rifle to a government issue M4 carbine would have a shorter barrel, a 14.5 or 14.7 barrel with a pin and welded muzzle device on it, have a GI issue handguard, GI issue recite, GI issue grip, and buttstock, which this rifle does have. However, these sorts of modifications would require deep replacement of major critical parts and not just simply drop-in accessories and upgrades. However, for the novice firearms owner or someone looking for a firearm on a budget, don't discount these M4geries. They're robust, they're reliable, they're inexpensive, and they're incredibly easy to maintain and repair. And you have something that's capable of having your sling, an optic, and a flashlight, all at a very relatively inexpensive package. Just keep in mind is make sure you buy from brands that have good quality control, good quality assurance, and have a reputation for creating quality firearms. Police trade-in firearms are also worth looking into. Check out those. So, go out there and train. Now, regardless of having an M4gery or a Geisley Super Duty rifle or other top-tier rifle, these don't do you any good unless you actually start training and testing and practicing with your equipment. Get some firearms training, learn the fundamentals, learn firearm safety, and go out there and practice in competitions and other drills. Now, for any sort of firearms-related advice I should give to you, don't only get firearms-related training. It's very good. It's very important. However, one thing that you should also prioritize on is first aid training. Go and seek out a Stop the Bleed course. It's only a few hours of your time on a weekend and only $1, if that. You're more likely getting into a situation where you have to go and treat injuries and heavy wounds than it is to get yourself into a gunfight. And even then, if you do get yourself into a gunfight, you also would need to do medical care and medical attention. Be proficient in your own equipment. Now, if you do enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and read the channel description. You'll find sources and great pieces of information inside. This video is brought to you by Glow So Bright. Thanks for watching.